Hey everybody, how's it going? We are back with another podcast. I know it's been a couple weeks, but we're finally back. Finally finished dealing with a lot of stuff that I had going on in personal life. No big deal. We're just gonna get right into it. Today is a open discussion podcast. It is not going to be like our top favorites of a certain topic. It's gonna be an open discussion on the future of gaming. Just kind of what we think, like the pros and the negatives and the cons of everything that's been going on in gaming in the last, I would say, maybe like 10 or 15 years. Whether or not it's going to keep going, it's going to keep evolving, or if it's going to start to crumble. And is gaming still going to be as big as it is in 10, 15 years? So we're going to get right into it. We didn't really put too much into like bullet points. I know some of us have a couple points that we want to bring up, but like I said, it's going to be more of an open discussion. It's not going to be a like, oh, this is my thought, agree or disagree, move on. It's going to be just kind of it's going to branch off like the fucking timeline, the multiverse of madness from the Loki series. If you haven't seen that,
No
sorry.
spoilers. No spoilers. No
Sorry.
spoilers. No spoilers.
Sorry, too late.
So many people have been telling me that. Not to get sidetracked. Fish, thank you for letting me back on your podcast, dude. It's been a pleasure. I just saw Venom 2 the other day, and I saw the cutscene for that, and I'm like, I'm not gonna spoil it, because Venom 2 overall is a good movie. I love how short and I love how quick and to the point it is, and I love the carnage that is featured in that movie, like the title.
Sure.
The ending scene, my cousin goes to me, he says, oh, it's like, oh my god, you're never gonna see it. I'm like, okay. Get to the end scene, I'm like, oh, that was whatever. Waited to the end credit scene, like you should, because it's a Marvel movie.
Right.
End credit scene hits, and about 30 seconds into that end credit scene, I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, yeah.
Alright,
Yeah.
I gotta stop falling asleep every time I sit down and watch.
So you haven't seen Loki?
I have not.
Have you seen WandaVision?
Yes.
Okay.
Love that series. Love Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Go watch Loki. It's amazing. It's dry for like the first 2-3 episodes, but once it gets rolling, the ball just keeps going and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And honestly, there's hardly any action in the last episode. It's just a giant discussion of the future of Marvel. So just
I'm
go
excited
and
for
watch
Hawkeye
it.
too.
I
excited
actually
for that.
am too. Yeah, that's gonna be good. Okay. Anyway, getting back to the topic of tonight, future gaming. I would say between the three of us, Rocker, you're what, like 35? So you got like 30 years of experience with gaming?
Alright, 30. 30.
Okay.
Oak trees are jealous of his age,
you got
that's
about
for sure.
you got about 24 years of gaming, I'm guessing. You probably started at an early age.
Yeah, I did start in an early age.
Okay, and Luke, you probably the same for you too?
Give or take.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not as old as Oak Tree over there, but yeah.
Alright. So I would say 20 and roughly 20 for Luke and probably 25 for Kyle. We got 65 years worth of gaming between us. What do we think about the way gaming has evolved over the last 20 years or so? I guess we'll start off. Like the biggest breakaways from it.
Oh. From where we're at 20 years ago till now, I've been completely happy and blown away with the amount of progress that we have from NES, or SNES, I'm sorry, N64 when Super Mario came out, and that was revolutionary. Now there's a discussion on Super Mario that I have a personal opinion about, but we'll get into that later.
Sure.
Just the development over the past 20 years has been amazing, and right now with all of the video game consoles that are out right now, I feel like that we're kind of plateauing, but I feel as though that the bar was also set so damn high that it makes it harder at this point in time with the technology that we have to go higher.
Fair point.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I would definitely say that, yeah, as far as I mean, one of the biggest innovations that, at least in particular, as far as the console market was concerned, was, this is now going to be the third generation of consoles that have Blu-ray. So, that's something.
Yeah.
And that kind of points that's kind of where consoles have stopped. And I mean, PCs at this point are bottlenecked by their components as well. So unless there's a giant leap, it's branching out much like it does in every other thing when it comes to the gaming verse. Because of course, it started off with just your basic PC, and then it evolved into your cabinets, for your arcades and stuff like that. And that evolved into a smaller version, which became home consoles and home PCs. So we've finally stopped growing vertically, and it's time to start branching out with more aspects into the VR and the peripherals of it. And until we see something as far as tech-wise to really advance in an upward direction anymore, you're right, we have, I wouldn't say plateaued, but I would say we're branching out.
Right. I guess plateau was kind of the first word on the top of my head. I didn't know.
It's a good word to pick. It's just, I look at, this is, if we think of gaming as a literal family tree, you look at the roots of it where, this all started with basic PCs, and I mean, the first original games were literally lines on a line that went back and forth on a screen and
fucking
a light.
Pong.
Not even Pong. There was stuff earlier than that even. So.
It's truth.
Yeah, I'll agree. It's as the actual hardware goes, it's amazing how far we've come. It really is. As it goes for software, I feel like we're almost hitting that point of the climax. Not gonna lie, as a gamer, I feel like they're running out of ideas. You can definitely tell that 10, 15 years ago, it was a lot easier for something to come out and be like, wow, this is the next best thing, and keep people's attention and make them want to play it for 2 or 3 years before the next one comes out or before something else comes out. Nowadays, yeah, great games are coming out, but like, I have a hard time keeping like an actual interest in the new games that come out. Like, you look at
God.
Yeah. Call of Duty,
honestly,
Call of Duty is a very solid example of that.
Yeah, I'll agree on that.
I would say that yes. So
the days of playing Black Ops 2 and Modern Warfare 3 and stuff like that are gone. They're not coming back. It's never going to be the same. And the way this generation or our generation looks at games like COD now, it's not the same. It'll never be the same as it once was.
No. And honestly, that we're getting to the point where it's kind of interesting, because if you look at the world on a grand scale, people are wondering what the new generation is really pushing for.
Right.
And it's if you were to take those people that were asking that question and told them to look at the gaming market and what comes out as far as what is popular, what isn't, what the general message of the new generation is, because most of the new generation is all gamers.
Right.
If you used gaming as a social experiment to look at how things are progressing, you would see that we're kind of in a weird funk of, we have 2 generations, the ones that grew up. Well, we have a total of 3 generations. We have Gen X, who literally has grown up with this, seen it be birthed and all the way up to now. Then we have, the millennials, and then we have Gen Z, and we're gonna leave Gen Alpha out of this for a while
Sure.
because they're still kids. So they really haven't. But we're seeing Gen Z kind of setting this social premise as far as gaming of, well, we want innovation, we want this, we want that, but they're willing to buy the same thing.
Right.
Whether or not that is because they're unsure of taking the risk or whatnot, and kind of jumping into innovation like the previous generations have. Like, if you think about it, we went from, I grew up with, I remember my grandparents having 8 tracks, and then we had cassette tapes, and then we had CDs, and then we had DVDs and the bigger ones,
Yep.
And then we have Blu-ray. Like, we've seen that progression, and we just went with the flow. This current generation, as far as gamers goes, they kind of went, we want innovation, we want something brand new. Cool. You're saying that because we've been saying it. We're like, we're ready for the next big thing. We're ready. And they're like, yeah, we're ready too. But then they buy the exact same cookie cutter plateaued stuff because
List the games here.
See-
let's see.
See, that's the thing. It's the one thing that really draws my attention to that whole conversation is Black Ops 2 and Modern Warfare 3. How old were we? We were, what, 17, 18? Still in high
I'd
school?
even say younger than that, honestly.
We weren't adults. We weren't people who had full-time jobs. We weren't people that had a life, had a family, had kids. So we spent all of our time playing this game because we got nothing else to do. And that's why we loved it so much. And I'm not sure if it's because the games are the exact same as they used to be growing up, or it's because the games are getting worse, or they're just getting boring at this point because it's the same cookie cutter thing. But you have to look at the next generation after us that's 15, 16, 17 right now. They probably don't have a full-time job. They probably don't have a family to look after. They probably don't have kids. So you see all these freaking kids on these games for hundreds of hours a week or a month, and they're what we were back in that day.
Right.
That's the thing. The younger generation, whether it's us versus us versus the Nintendo kids, or us versus the newer generation versus us, the younger generation is always the better gamer.
Right.
You go into COD right now. You go into Cold War right now. Even if you've been playing Call of Duty all your life, if you are an adult who has a full-time job who does not get to spend 50, 60 hours a week playing video games,
Right.
you will not be as good as those kids. And
Absolutely.
I think that's a big takeaway from why this generation is having a much harder time enjoying video games and sticking to a new video game and finding excitement out of it. It's because we don't have those 60 hours a week to just sit there and grind through the game and enjoy it. You might get like 2 or 3 hours, but then you have to go to work. And then you have other stuff that comes up after work. And it's like, by the time you get back to the game, it's been a week. So you're like, I don't even remember those 3 hours that I just played. So it's like...
I would say that also would play into, if you're looking at just the group of adult gamers, right? We're going to take the teens and the kids out of it here for a second. And if we're looking at just the average age group of, let's say, 19 plus, right? You're seeing this thing where they are so heavily, because we have to be invested in adulting. We don't get...
You don't get a choice.
You don't get, you talk to previous generations, oh, I took a summer and I went to this country and or I went backpacking. the quintessential. I went backpacking across Europe before I went to college. We don't get that option.
Hmm.
We don't get that option anymore because it's ludicrously priced.
Right.
Most most people will never see that option in their lifetime, let alone right out of high school.
Right.
Because and the world market and the economy is a thing, but what it it's,
I'll be
so
honest.
what,
I'll be honest. There have been times since I turned 18, since I've been working pretty much full time since then. Even in college, I worked like 30 plus hours a week, if not a full time. There have been times where if I think a game is gonna be that good, when it comes out, I take a week off of work and I grind that game. And I dedicate it to that game. I don't take a vacation. I don't go over to another state or go
right.
backpacking or shit like that. Because I'm a gamer and I grew up doing this, I will take that week and just play the video game and sit
Right.
at home. And
Yeah.
that's my vacation. Because nowadays, as an adult, you can't do that anymore.
No, you can't. So, but that's the thing too, is that because people are spending so much exorbitant amounts of time at their jobs or trying to make ends meet in various ways, that it just isn't a lot of publishers. I'm going to leave the game development studios out of this because that is something that the gaming community needs to draw the line and understand the distinction. There are publishers
Yeah.
and there are studios. Studios design and make the game. Publishers are the one that push it. Publishers are the one that invest in it and set the deadlines. So, with that being said, there's a lot of publishers who are taking advantage of a distracted gaming populace by pumping up the same title year after year, not making really any changes to it other than aesthetics.
Could that also be kind of played into the nostalgia games? Like, for instance, like Pokemon Diamond and Pearl is coming out, and obviously that game is going to be more tuned to me and T-Fish's generation, possibly the older generation. But I was also thinking too, in the limelight of the newer generation is going to play this, thinking that they're trying to get the nostalgia and see what all the hype is, and that could be a great thing for them, but that also could be a deterrent for them too as well.
Right.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
So-
I think age plays a big part in gaming. Whether or not, because there's going to come a time where that generation after us becomes our generation. And the generation after them is going to be the new young generation.
Oh, yeah.
And where gaming is going to be at that point, if it keeps growing like it has been, holy crap.
Yeah.
We're going to be old. We're going to be old farts in our 50s and 60s at some point. If we're still gaming, we're not going to know what the fuck we're doing. At some point, we're going to be fucking lost. Like,
Yeah.
just like how our parents are with cell phones, we're not going to know how to play video games anymore.
Yeah. No.
Isn't that also? Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
So, to kind of continue on with that, the whole publisher issue is because the gaming community has been clamoring for new games, and you see this all the time with these hyped up marketing campaigns. Everything's flashy, everything's in your face, brand new. It's not new, it just looks pretty. And as a gaming community, we need. Now, that being said, from what I've seen, because the new Call of Duty has already, is just now, it just hit the shelves today, and the reviews are just slapping it.
I'll be
across the
honest,
face.
at my age, I haven't even looked at anything Vanguard. I might buy it when it's half off. I might buy it when it's 30% off, just for the hell of it to have it. So if people want to play, I can play. But I have no interest in the game.
Well, and that's just it. The critics are sitting there going, nothing's changed. This is not innovative. This is not different. This is not new. You have been doing this for years. Do something different.
What were you gonna say, Luke?
No, I was just gonna say too on Vanguard, like, they're trying this cinematic approach in partially kind of ways to Fortnite and how they do their advertising and stuff like that, where it works for the younger generation because they see all the nice pretty lights, and with the newer consoles it's going to be better resolution with the 4K, but truth be told, I was trying to, like, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit hyped because for Vanguard with the zombies, because if you bought Cold War or just Call of Duty Cold War and say it's an absolute garbage game, the worst out of the Call of Duty series, you have not clearly played the zombies, because with the amount of stuff that they have put into there, it's just awesome. And I was excited because they were gonna keep that flowing into Vanguard, and with some of the stuff that they have in Vanguard for zombies, it's cool, but it just doesn't appeal to me as an old classic gamer, because it just doesn't have some of the features that I'm used to as well.
Right. Yeah. Not even gonna lie. Literally today, I was playing Grand Theft Auto 4.
You was.
Love that game.
I was literally playing Grand Theft Auto 4 today. Just for
Third
fun.
favorite game.
Just for fun. I have Grand Theft Auto 5. I have it on 4 different consoles, between 360, PS4, Xbox One, and PC.
Yeah.
But I play Grand Theft Auto 4 on my PC instead.
So that's where the interesting part comes in. Is this comes into now the live service model of gaming, where battle passes are a thing, right? Or
that was going to be a big topic for this stream. I think that's a super negative thing.
Oh yeah, no, I mean the concept of a battle pass for a free to play game, like
Apex,
like the battle like Apex and stuff like that, it makes sense because these studios have to make money somehow, right? But then you apply that same model because it prints money, so a publisher's gonna go, if we throw it into Call of Duty's online thing, no one's gonna care, right? No, cool. What ends up happening though is, and I can talk about this now because those two individuals that I know are no longer working for Activision. So, and I'm sure you both, well, Luke, you've probably seen this for sure, where Battle Pass comes out, brand new weapons are released. What's up with what's the main problem with those weapons, Luke? Why don't you tell the audience?
What isn't wrong with them? I mean,
right.
When those it seems like, now don't quote me on any of this, because with every battle pass it's like 2 to 3 weapons that come out, give or take,
right.
And not 9 times out of 10 it usually takes 2 to 3 weeks before they're patched, because they're absolutely so fucking broken. Not only in multiplayer, but in Warzone, they are absolutely broken, and that just doesn't make Warzone fun to play at all.
So here's my question now. Think about this. If you are trying to pass off the optional battle pass with the highest chance of people passing it off as a optional service, but trying to get as many people to buy into it as possible in order to keep making money. Overpowered weapons without patching or fixing, even though the quality assurance team in testing goes, these are broken, we should patch them and fix them so they're balanced before they hit main service. And and my buddies would do this because they worked on the quality assurance team. They
So,
went, it's a battle pass. This is going to be broken. This is going to suck. We're going to have to patch this in about 2-3 weeks. They would get feedback saying, okay, is that going to hurt our sales if we patch it? Possibly, probably not, though. Well, would it sell more battle passes if we didn't patch it? Probably, because that's where the broken weapons are. So people are going to buy the fast pass in order to get to those weapons sooner.
Or like prime example with Fortnite, not only the weapons, you go under Fortnite, let's throw Deadpool in there. Let's throw
Right.
Rick and Morty, your favorite characters, to keep that incentive going.
Yep. So
go ahead.
it's predatory, and a lot of people, from our generation of gamers, because we'll separate it here. The current generation of gamers couldn't care less because they've basically grown up with it, right?
Right.
Our generation goes, okay, you want innovation, and you think you're going to get that out of a battle pass that you pay every couple of months for?
Yep.
And then you complain about a $60 game when it comes up. No.
Or 70 for the upscale now.
Right, yeah.
We went from having a $60 game that had everything included to having a $60 game with a $30 to $40 DLC pass to get all the extra bonus content, to now having a $60 to $70 game with a $30 to $40 DLC pass and
a $20 game battle
and
pass of
and a $10
yeah.
$15 battle pass that you have to renew every 2 months.
Yep.
It's absurd.
And currencies that buy out new skins. Anyway, it's ridiculous.
I've made this argument too with a lot of my buddies, and all of these are great points. I'm completely 100%ing with you guys. One of my biggest fucking complaints right now is, like, it's going to happen in Vanguard, it's going to happen in Battlefield 2042, all these games that are coming out. My biggest thing is, when I pay for something that's $60, it should be damn near 100% polished. Now, we can also make that argument, like, they're going to throw on the add-ons and it's going to get patched over time, which is the most, it's beautiful in the essence of, like, 20 years ago when you bought a $50, $60 game, that was it. There are no updates, we can't update it. So now in the future terms, it's nice that stuff can be updated like that.
Right.
But it's 20 years ago and now it's got its own double-edged sword either way.
Well,
so,
I see, the thing about it is like, another prime example of, because of this generation, and I mean our generation is guilty of it too, where we're sitting here going, we want innovation, we want something new, we want something fresh. Well, you see a lot of these early access things, and buy in for early access. Don't worry, it's an incomplete game, but we're working on it. And then you see all these games that never leave open beta. It never leaves open beta. Why? Because that means that they don't have to admit that the game is never going to be done. It was never ready to be released in the first place. But they wanted to make money, so they said, if you buy in, you've got the game, and we're just going to keep building on it. Cool.
Go ahead.
And it's become cancerous on so many levels. It is a cancer that needs to be quelled, as far as early access, buy-ins, and constant beta stage games.
2 things. One, they're really, for it to be reasonable for all this extra shit, there needs to be a limit at some point. Like, I get the companies wanting to make more money, and this is never going to happen. But
no,
there should honestly be a limit to how much you can be charging people over the course of the 2-3 years if that is the main game. Like, look at Call of Duty. All this extra shit. You should not be able... Like, one of the best ways to fix it, for the most part, Battle Pass, you buy it once, you get it every time the Battle Pass renews.
Yeah.
The $15 you spend, you get the battle pass for the 2 or 3 years that game is the main game.
I
then they would-
I am interested to see how, because what you're talking about will be supposedly done with the new Halo. I have my doubts to see how well it's going to be implemented, but if it's done right by them, they could have a winner as far as their battle pass working way
They're-
better overall in the long term comparatively.
They're gonna grab a lot of people if they can actually get that to work and not
Right.
get greedy.
Yeah,
The second,
That's-
the second thing,
that's
this wasn't how gaming was when we were younger.
no.
The other thing that wasn't around as much when we were younger, gaming streamers.
Yeah, that's all.
The effect that gaming streamers have on the fact that people will spend all their money on all this extra shit. They don't.
Yeah.
I love streamers. I will watch streamers all the time, and I am a streamer, and I get it. It's great to share your content with your fans,
Right.
but the effect they have to make these younger kids, or even our people our age, the effect of them ripping packs or buying the battle pass and having all the extra shit, they have the money because they have the fan base, like the popular streamers and stuff.
Right.
But you have all these fans who are influential, and they go out and they do it all themselves too. They get all this extra shit, and they might not always pull everything you pull, and they just wasted all of their money for the entire month. It's
Right.
like, it's so toxic.
That's the interesting thing is, so I mean, you guys remember when entertainment, like you would get to a certain point in the nightly programming of TV, and Entertainment Tonight would pop on, or Hollywood Access, the celebrity gossip shows, right? Where you could see or hear stories about your favorite, but you would hear the stories about what what the celebs were getting up to. We've reached a point now where streamers are celebrities for this up and coming generation. The problem is the fact that there is no off switch now. You would get Hollywood Access and all those shows, and they run for a half hour, and then it was done,
Right.
and you could go about your day. Streamers, well, they got to make money, so they got to they got to make content and work themselves to death in order to please the masses. But because they have to do that for so many hours a day, there's no off switch. They
Right.
don't get cooldown time. Nobody, you as a consumer and a viewer don't get downtime, really.
Right.
That's why I completely disagree with the whole subathon thing. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I think it is the unhealthiest thing. So subathons, depending on how you do it, Luke, is so if Fish were to do a subathon, and
If I actually had people that watch my streams, yeah, I would.
yeah, so if he was to do a subathon, right? Basically, every time a person would sub, they would have a timer, and it would add time to a clock. And for the larger streamers, that means, well, guess what? It's subathon time. All of a sudden, oh, I've got 20,000 subs. I have to stream for almost 12 hours today. And the clock will keep going because more and more people will come into the trickle in and out of the stream, sub, add to the clock. I have seen subathons that have literally lasted weeks, and the stream never gets shut off. Like the streamer will go off screen to sleep, or even sleep on stream, and will continue to stream. There's no off switch anymore.
That's fucked.
It's disgusting and it's dangerous in my opinion. It needs to stop.
The toxicity of the gaming world today versus back then has grown so much farther than actual just gaming,
well,
and it's bizarre.
Well, and the thing about it is it's so weird because we get our generation, we laugh and we make fun of the new generation, going, "You wouldn't last, 10 minutes in a in a Halo, in a Halo lobby on the original Xbox Live," and they're like, "What do you mean?" Well, one, the thickness of skin between generations of gamers is oh my goodness, wow.
We're gonna
not
go there, aren't we?
We're not gonna
No,
quote. We're not gonna quote anything we said when we were teenagers.
No, absolutely not.
Because I'm
But
not getting copyrighted and banned from Twitch.
No, I mean, it's like, so for our generation, we're triple padded leather,
You could get away with saying some of the most disgusting things.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
like offensive things. And it
Modern
was fine.
Warfare 3 lobbies.
Black Ops 2 lobbies.
Oh
Yeah.
man, no, there was, but it was. Everyone's like, "Oh, and nowadays they're like, you're racist." Oh, you don't know what no, compared to what
I'll be honest. There was a point in time when I was a young, influential teenager, and I didn't know any better, and I would say the N-word when I was gaming. I've grown out of that phase, thank God, and I will never say the N-word again in my life. But it was bad.
Yeah, but and that's just it. It was one of those things where we also grew up with the concept of, all right, yeah, we say bad things, and yeah, we have our moments, but that stays on the box. Right? That stays on the box between me, my friends, and the couple of idiots on the other end that I was insulting. Right? Nowadays, that again, there's no off switch. That can now, well, you say it to the wrong person, now all of a sudden they're like, "Hey,
ban this guy," or file a complaint, or like report this person, or you see it more and more now. That's a nice house you've got there on Google Maps. Technology too,
yeah, and it's so, but I think it's so funny because currently people are like, how do we stop this? And it's, how do we get the innovation back? How do we do this? Do we just accept our fate and realize that the generations that started gaming, literally started it, are now surpassed? No, I don't think that's the thing at all. I think it is up to us as the people, the generations that saw this innovation, that saw these giant leaps, turn around and go, okay, I understand. They are limited in these regards. So yeah, we're not going to see the wild leaps that I got to grow up with. But that doesn't mean that you have to settle for the crap that is getting shoveled into your mouths. You can say, no, I don't want to buy a battle pass. No, I don't want to buy in early access to your game. No, I don't want to spend $60 on a pre-order in order to gain access to a weekend play session to a game that I'm probably not going to buy, because if the beta doesn't feel good, I'm not going to buy it.
Really quick on that. What Madden are we on right now? Madden 22?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Madden 18, I've never actually said this on stream. Madden 18, I spent, on top of the $60 for the game, I would say close to $2,500 on packs. Madden 19, I did a little bit better. I spent $60 on the game. I spent about $900 on packs. Madden 20, I spent $60 on the game and about $100. Madden 21, I bought the game. Madden 22, I bought the game. The amount I've had to grow as a financially responsible person when it comes to gaming, because I have to be a financially responsible person, is wild. Granted, I had one of the best MUT teams in the world in Madden 18 with that $2,500 team.
Right.
but it was not worth it.
Oh no.
Never in a million years will that shit be worth it. It's never worth it. But the company will never stop doing it because they will keep making money. Madden is the biggest example of not getting your money's worth when you do that shit. Like when it comes to COD and stuff like that, you get some good stuff. The percentage of which you pulling something good, like for like the chest or like the loot crates that you used to do or whatever, with the crypto keys.
So,
the odds of you getting something good was okay, and it wasn't a crap ton of money that you had to use to get something. But to get 10 packs in Madden to have at the time the best overall player was like $100, and it's like
I would argue that FIFA probably holds more of a market share on that than Madden does, but that's only because they have the worldwide.
The value though of what you get out of the packs that you spend $100 on is dog shit.
Oh yeah.
Like, I've spent $800 on Madden 18 in one day. When it was Joycenator, myself, T-Binator, Sven, and Ultimate Legend, when we all went to Aurora for a guys like trip, I got my tax returns during that trip. I sat there on the TV and I spent $1,000 in Madden, and just had no self control,
and didn't even, and that in and of itself is another problem. Is the fact that this gaming generation is also getting used to, like, growing up. You guys remember? Do you or a family member have a problem with gambling? You remember those infomercials? We grew up with those.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see that anymore.
There's so much incentivization to that too. And what's scary about it is too, as you guys are talking, I was just formulating. What's also scary, and what Call of Duty might adapt is, and it probably helped or hurt their sales, whatever way you want to take it. So if you guys have ever bought Call of Duty Cold War and the Zombies part, all the DLC was made free, which was awesome.
Right.
And they probably did that as a marketing stunt so more people would buy the game. They could maybe incentivize that for future games, but there you go again. That's leading into a rabbit hole where you buy the game. All right, you're gonna get all these zombie maps, even though they only put 4 fucking out. And then we're gonna slide in the battle pass. We'll give you we'll give you some CP points, and then you can work towards them, and then you can buy the battle pass.
Yeah.
The nice thing, I think COD does it, but I know for sure Fortnite does it, is that if you're a smart person financially with that kind of stuff, you buy the first battle pass, and the amount of crypto keys or like coins or whatever that you get through that entire battle pass.
No. COD's the same way.
If you finish it, you'll have enough to get the battle pass that comes out next. So that $10, $15 investment and your investment into the game of grinding it for 100 levels, you'll get the next battle pass for free. But you gotta get to a level 100.
Right. But see, here's where it differs. So Fortnite doesn't blast your screen the minute you log in with skins.
Yeah.
Because they can't. Well, they do and they don't.
It's
not
mild.
as bad
right
as
away.
COD.
It's mild.
Yeah, it's not
correct. Yeah.
It's not right in your face the minute you open the game, right?
Right.
Because they're expecting. It's so with Fortnite they have to be careful because there's federal laws and regulations as far as incentivizing the screen that way, right? Because they are limited in that regard where they're like, this is what we are, so therefore we are more aimed towards kids. They're not allowed to hit your screen up front. Call of Duty can't, because most of the time they are higher up in the rating system. So the concept behind the rating system in and of itself, it does need to be looked at. It does need to be changed, and stuff like that. That's a whole new topic of discussion in and of itself. But you're talking about a game where this is supposed to be 18 and older. So therefore, gambling is legal or
Right.
almost legal. So you can start, you can start blasting a screen and programming somebody to want to buy the packs, want to rip them open, want to see if they can get the best thing. Now, granted, with Madden and FIFA and those games, it's a little, it's on the murky end of the pool, right? This is a kids could play the game, but it's more geared towards teens, so it's more along the lines of this is supposed to be an open discussion between parents and kids on responsible spending habits. Um, but the with COD, it is up in your face and everything else, and because there is such a young demographic on Call of Duty, there's no stopping it. You are programming 5, 6, 7-year-old kids that gambling and spending loads of money is okay.
Right.
Kyle, you're gonna get a kick out of this. Not to completely change it, but when we talk about the essence of gambling, I had made the quote to one of our friends, Hunter, that in and of itself, which it kind of irked him a little bit, but it's honestly the truth. Your standard Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh,
Oh, absolutely.
the card games are essentially a loot box system in and of itself.
Don't
too.
even get me started on that. Like,
A different conversation for a different day. But
if you've seen it, I busted $500 worth of packs on 2 different streams just for the content. I didn't even care what I pulled out of that box. I didn't even care if I made a profit. I literally did it because I thought it would be good content. Granted, the first box was $250 and I made $330. And then the second box I used store credit and money a buddy owed me, and the second box cost me $50 and I made like $200. So like,
right.
Like it,
but again, you were taught how to be somewhat fiscally, responsible with that.
5% of the time, 5%, not maybe 5%.
Right.
Boxes are worth buying because the percentage chance of actually pulling at least the value of the box or more than the value of what you paid for is there.
Right.
95% of the time, you are going to lose money.
Yep. Oh yeah. No, it's
and that's the nice thing about MTG Arena, which is a video game. If you don't buy the packs in that game, it's free. You get free magic. Granted, you're not gonna always pull the best stuff. Probably you get packs from playing games and stuff like that. You get more cards.
right.
But it's free as long as you don't get sucked in and invest.
Yeah.
So that's the nice thing about MTG Arena, which is why I think it's gaining popularity for the Magic community.
Right.
I'm waiting for Pokemon to.
Do that.
They have like an iPad version, but they're talking about making it more mobile. And once they do that, I'll be very much more interested. But until that happens,
On the topic of loot boxes and stuff like that, it was a bad investment on my part, financially for sure. But the only time I've had fun with that lasted and I didn't feel terrible about it afterwards was Black Ops 3. Because the value of what you pulled per crates, like the blue crates versus the silver crates and stuff like that, the value you pulled, the percentage wise versus say like games like Madden or nowadays and any other type loot box game, you pulled decent stuff. I probably, I don't know, put $300 into it. I probably pulled like 6 or 7 decent like special weapons, like melee weapons or guns or stuff like that. It had good value and I didn't hate investing in it. But it sucks investing in ones that the value is just not there, and that's why I will never
Well,
touch Madden ever again.
the interesting part that okay, so you know you're talking about ripping packs and making money off of Magic the Gathering.
Right.
The I would say that probably the closest equivalent where people can actually make their money back would be CS:GO, because you can sell the skins that you get in those boxes.
I never got into the game, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
'Cause-
So
Because I know Justin had mentioned.
yeah, no, his brother had pulled out a skin that was worth like $1,500 and sold it to somebody for $1,400.
Yeah. And what, he paid like $50 for it? Not even?
Yeah, not even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it also fair to say, not to interrupt you, Kyle, but like prime example for, I wouldn't say so much for the newer CODs, because zombies has been intricated into that, which I love that part of it. But is it also fair to see, like, for these big multiplayer games such as COD, I'm more leaning on towards COD. Like,
Yeah.
it just seems like it's more designed for the multiplayer aspect than anything else, and it doesn't apply to anything else.
Oh, absolutely. And part of that is the fact that, so I mean, a while ago EA was kind of made a laughing stock out of, in a way, because they told people,
Shit company.
um, well, no, it was more along the lines of,
Personal
so
beef, my bad.
they, well, with Star Wars Battlefront 2, when that came out, people were like, "What is this? This is absolute crap.
Yep.
We don't like it. What are you doing? Where's our single player games? Where's this single player Star Wars game? Oh, we canned that one. Why?
Follower.
Because and they were upfront about it. They're like, our research shows that no one wants single player campaigns.
That is
anymore."
such fucking horseshit.
Well,
And
and there was a comment by one of the. I'm not gonna quote because I don't know exactly where it came from, but one of the high up fucking video game executives goes back in 2011, 2012, like, single player games are dead. Multiplayer games are
Oh yeah.
the way of the future.
That was EA. Yeah.
He's not wrong, but he's not
wrong.
right, because Grand Theft Auto 5 got released a year later, and look at that single player experience. My
Right.
God, is that awesome!
Right.
The biggest takeaway though between single player and multiplayer is it's because of our generation of being adults and not always having time to game is why single player games are not dead. It's we're not good enough to take on these people who have 60 hours a week to play these
Right.
multiplayer games anymore. So we don't find comfort in getting our ass kicked every fucking game we play. So we enjoy the story mode games that we can play in
Right.
our free time, pause, even come back to it like a week later and finish it or keep going
Right.
in it. Like, as much as I hate to say it, multiplayer just is not as fun for me as it used to be. And
So-
the only games I play now is like League.
So I would like to, I would honestly say that the reason, publishers say that single player games for the most part are dead is because they're dead to them. They're dead sources of revenue, right? A single player game comes out, yeah, you might have a couple of DLCs now that come out for more story, whoop-de-doo-dah.
Ballad of Gay
Right.
Tony.
Things like that. Ballad of Gay Tony, some of the other ones over the years where it's like, yeah, okay, cool. Now you have more story, but that's all you're going to spend on the game. You're going
Right.
to spend an extra $15.
Mhm.
Or if I hook you into a multiplayer session with skins and other things that I can monetize, I can constantly keep farming you for your wallet. That's where the publishers say single player games are dead. They are dead sources of revenue. It is a money sink to them. They don't want to put money into it. So they're trying to convince other, the younger generation of gamers that single player isn't the way to go.
Yeah.
It is bottom line greed that is trying to kill off the single player experience. And our generation that grew up with it are sitting there going, no, you won't.
Speaking
You know,
of
like-
single player experiences, sorry to interrupt again, Kyle.
Okay.
I'm slowly
Nope.
learning the podcast lifestyle and stuff like that. I'm sorry, Fish, with you buying Madden 22, what is? I've been hearing a lot of problems with the franchise mode and stuff like that. What the hell's going on with that? And does that is that going to be a huge deterrent for future Madden players or just that series in general?
I played Ultimate Team for about a week. Stopped playing it right away, so I didn't get suckered into it. Went over to franchise. Sven, Teebs, myself, and Adam got into a franchise, and I'll be honest, I don't really care for it. I play it because my buddies play it, but then we decided that there was a question on whether or not, since they came out with a really big franchise update midway through when it released and now, if we wanted to restart the franchise to use this new update. And I think they did, but I haven't, so I have no clue about what's going on with the franchise right now.
Because I've heard it's been totally broke. Like, it's been breaking PCs and consoles and just game breaking, period. And
Well, then I'm
they
glad
have
I'm
no
not
answer
touching
for
it.
it.
Honestly, I think Madden 22 is the last Madden I'm buying.
So,
At least for a few years.
so a bit of a fun story for you guys as far as we're talking about Madden and how much EA really cares about that franchise.
Fucking stupid.
So
I'm gonna fucking rage.
I know another. Well, I'm acquainted with another streamer who is a artist, digital artist. He's worked on Madden. He's worked on a lot of stuff. So he's actually, been to like release parties and stuff like that. And it was kind of funny because he worked on, if you guys remember the Def Jam fighting game.
It was good.
Right.
Not great. To
So-
me, anyways.
Right. So the interesting part about that is the fact that he goes, so that release party, that was a party. That was bottles of champagne, open bar, all the food and drink you could have. It was, lavish party, right? You go to a Madden release, he goes, you got 2 beers, you got a plate of food, which pretty much consisted of a piece of a like
Right.
a giant sub. You got a piece of that sub, some cheese, some crackers, maybe some summer sausage, and like some brownies. That was it. That was the entire spread that was set out by EA.
Well, those executives better spread them cheeks because I'm still hungry.
Yeah. So, but again, it shows the radical difference between. So when Def Jam threw that party, that was the game studio throwing the party, backed with, the rappers and the music executives. Like, they were along the lines of, we're gonna throw a party because you guys deserve it. You guys help us make this game. Whereas if a publisher goes, oh yeah, congratulations, thanks for making another game. That's you are a
that
paycheck.
company makes me mad.
The
that's
best
it.
football game in the last 20 years,
Oh, I'll get into this argument with you.
excluding college football games. We're not.
I'll still argue with you on this one. I know which one you're gonna say, and I don't
ESPN
disagree with it.
2K5.
I won't disagree with that.
It
I won't
is
disagree with
the
that.
best football game to come out in the last 20 years, excluding college games. And it's not even a Madden.
I would say Madden 07 or 08 for the
08.
GameCube.
08 was really good. I will give it.
Yes.
I will give it credit to where it's due. It was the first game I ever fully completed because I got 100% achievements on the 360.
I'll just sit over here and enjoy my Troy Aikman football on the Super
Oh,
Bowl.
you're the worst.
I am a huge fucking Super Tecmo Bowl fan, though. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, Jackson.
and you know what? I think that branches off into another interesting discussion. So
Yeah.
you were talking about that in multiplayer, our generation really can't keep up. And I'll agree with you on that because, I mean, you're talking about a generation of gamers that have been training their reflexes since, the ages of
Like
four.
I can still go into Cold War and quickscope little kids.
Oh
all I
yeah,
want, but,
absolutely. Like we have a skill set. We're just the level of that skill set has evolved
yeah.
Oh,
with
I would.
with this most recent generation, except for a few individuals such as like Shroud and stuff like that. Where arguably that's just very.
I'm
Ridiculous.
waiting to see people like Ninja's ability to play video games decay. Will it ever happen? It might not. But
Hot take. It has been for years. I honestly think that for the most part, his overall gaming ability plateaued shortly after he left the Halo 2 scene, and
I don't know. He's pretty good at Fortnite when it first started. Nowadays it's a little lackluster.
He's
but, like,
also made his money too.
Oh, he's filthy rich.
He could retire. He could retire from the game right now and
And-
be like, "I'm done."
And he's even said that like he doesn't go crazy with his money because like he doesn't need all that extra stuff. The most he's ever spent from the amount of money he's made is just to make his office better. That's it.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
He still lives in a middle class society home with his wife and a dog.
Yeah.
Probably has a 2015 or newer car. That's about it.
And you know what? I will say this for the majority of streamers and professional content
Makes
creators that
millions.
that actually make massive amounts of money. I will have to admit that those people are really showing up the generation, the 40s and 50s and the early 60s generation, where they're like, you guys are just gonna blow through any wealth that's handed to you. Really? Because they're generating it.
That's the thing, though. They're not technically wrong because the majority is, but there is a large percentage that doesn't. Like
but at the same time, too, making that argument of they're right, they're not. It's the same. If you were to look at the statistics, it's actually a larger pool of people that hold wealth in that group than what their generation does, holding their majority of their wealth.
I'll agree on that.
So
I also feel like that's an old bias too, because certain number of people would be like, "Oh, Ninja's pulling in $1 billion." Well, that must be nice. Every streamer must be pulling out $1 billion.
Yeah.
Which people in the industry know that that's not the fucking case.
No.
Not even close.
Anyway, let's try to get back into like the whole future gaming.
I would
Go ahead.
I would say, like, for the future of gaming, I am excited. We talked about a lot of negatives on this podcast tonight. I'm gonna give a hot take. I don't necessarily believe this, but I think that in the future of just gaming as a whole, I think it's going to be dominated by either mobile, and when I say mobile, I don't mean like phones per se. I'm talking like with what Nintendo Switch has got going on, where you can take stuff handheld, or the new Steam Deck, like that, for instance. Or I still think VR is in its baby stage, but once that hooks, I think that's gonna hook hard.
With virtual reality, I have a really hard time seeing it fully evolve, because the headset and the headphones and the controllers are nice, but the inability to have the machine to like walk around and run on and stay in the same spot, like there are those machines, they do exist, but they're not anywhere near affordable yet. And until
Well,
they can
yeah.
be affordable, I don't think VR is gonna be a large group percentage of people playing it.
Right.
I,
I still
I
think
will
this
say
is,
that I think that is probably where the largest portion of innovation is going to come from in, say, the next five
Right.
to 10 years, is that aspect of gaming.
Yeah.
Either VR, augmented reality, things of that nature, right?
Yeah.
Simply, and I do take a huge nod to augmented reality here because augmented reality ties very, very solidly into uh, mobile gaming, that gaming on the go, because we've already got the augmented reality glasses from Google and stuff like of that nature. So tying that in, it could be,
Okay. I have a question about the future of gaming that is gonna be a good question.
mm,
Um, with the future of gaming, especially consoles and stuff like that, do you think there's ever actually going to be a time where consoles and just gaming in general goes fully digital? Do you really think at any point in time in the next 10 or 15 years we'll get rid of discs, we'll get rid of cartridges, it'll just be straight digital? Because I don't think they will. Honestly, I really don't think they will. Because,
I'll let Kyle go first
so
on this one.
so I'm going to say that the reason hard copies of games still exist is purely for nostalgia and collection purposes.
mhm,
That is it. Because realistically, what you are doing is you are buying a computer program, right?
right,
Now, as far as an advancement of hard copies of games, I mean, we've already seen it with, I mean, the Switch does it with their little cartridges and stuff like that. Do I see us getting to a point where you buy a game and instead of a disc, you get sent home with a
digital
like
code.
well, not so much a digital. Well, yes, a digital code, but if there's a hard copy of a game, I do see the point where you get sent home with a stick, either a SD card of, because they are getting quite large.
Well,
Um,
that, that,
so
that's the thing though for me is we've already experienced mobile console with discs because
yes,
it just didn't do well because it was too far ahead of its time, and the company that ran it was a company that only cared about hardware, not software. So
well,
eventually, that's gonna come back. That PSP, that was gonna be the next big thing and just kind of tanked, is gonna come back, and people are gonna be ready for it, especially now that we have the Switch, where it's literally the same thing.
right. So, but again, you're also talking about if mobile gaming continues to grow the way it is and goes that direction, then absolutely it will become a fundamental part. But I'm saying that for the efficiency and the progression, so we also have to look at the outside world of gaming and the tech advancement in that regard, right? The industry of tech is moving away from CDs and discs in a way.
Yeah, I mean, you look at my PC; it doesn't have a disc tray in it.
Right. Yeah, a lot of PCs and stuff like that. That's now considered an extra. That's not considered mandatory anymore because it's not needed most of the time.
Another
It's
thing is you can see that companies are making the extra effort to push disc and cartridges out because you look at the PS5 and you look at the Xbox Series X. They have versions that are digital
yeah.
only, and they're selling them for cheaper money so that people will buy them and people won't have to get like
Well,
they're
again,
literally trying to force it, which is a good market strategy, but it sucks at the same time.
again, and here's the big thing. This stems from the reason there are two versions and the reason that the disc version is more expensive. It's because people are willing to pay for the nostalgia of being able to have a physical copy.
Right.
Companies know that. So,
Nintendo.
this Nintendo will always be Nintendo and probably will never actually almost ever get rid of their physical copies of games because they know that they have that going for them. But
one thing I want to add is, keep going. I'll come back to it. I had it.
Okay. So, but again, and this is as far as the future advancement of gaming, there's a couple of key things that are holding us back. Nostalgia is one. Okay, and I will lay this squarely at our generation's feet. Simply because we miss genuine innovation. Genuine innovation. There hasn't really, like I said, we are now on the third generation of consoles alone that are using Blu-ray.
Yeah.
In some regard. Now, like you said, arguably there are some that are just trying to force that, but or force getting away from that. But that's not exactly a bad thing either, because there could be more innovation without discs. Maybe we do need to stop looking at physical copies of things as necessary for gaming to advance, and I don't think it is necessary for it to advance. So we need to stop. We also need to, with the nostalgia thing, we need to stop clamoring for remakes.
Right. The thing I was gonna add that I remembered, I think a really great way that companies can actually get people to be more on board with the whole going straight digital is not keeping a game that's been out for 2 years at full price on digital. Like, if companies would actually over time lower the price of games digitally, like we do when we buy used games at GameStop or at Walmart or Best Buy, if they have used ones, if they could actually take the effort to over time lower their prices for their digital games as the longer they've been out, or have more sales more often, so that people can actually get these games cheaper than spending $59 on Madden 19 when Madden 22 is the most current Madden. It's like, come on.
And they do, but
it's rare.
Yeah,
it's rare. And
I wouldn't say it's like rare in the essence of like rare, but it's more like a scheduled deal.
The biggest thing I love about disc is I can go into a gaming store and get a used copy of a game and save $15-20.
Yep.
True. This is true, but that being said, I don't know. For nostalgia to have such a in some ways pervasive level of influence and hold on an industry that was known for rapid innovation, because you guys remember it, as soon as a new tech piece of it was introduced into the industry, CD-ROMs came out. Sega, mine. I'm gonna make a gaming system out of this. It didn't take them long. Literally, it did not take them long at all to take the CD-ROM and go, I can make games. I can make a console out of that. Or there are just so many things where it's like, okay, where do we draw the line? We need, and I would say that it borders on 3 things. 1, we need to stop Zerg rushing developers and publishers even, and driving these fast production times for games.
I'll agree with that.
We need to stop doing this. It needs to be out in 36 months.
Nope.
That's your time. No. Give them time. There are very creative people designing these things. Give them time to actually be artists.
I find a very similarity between the older generation and paying off college and the newer generation and paying off college, and the same retrospect as a time frame for a video game now versus a time frame from a video game back then. The
Right.
amount of pixels that are in a game nowadays versus
Yeah.
the amount of pixels that were in a game back then, holy fucking crap. The
Yeah.
amount of pixels it took to make Madam Big Bosom in fucking Resident Evil there was more pixels on that one character than I think in the original Legend of Zelda on Nintendo. That's insane.
So, the newest Tomb Raider, right? There were more pixels in her gluteus maximus than there were in the original Super Mario.
Yeah, and people think that oh no, it's fine because you want to bet that back then when Super Mario was being developed, it took them 36 months.
No, it took them years. Years.
Well,
I mean,
36 months is 3 years, but yeah.
Well,
Prime-
no,
prime-
even more than that. But
prime example, one of the best games recently, in my opinion. Now, granted, I do have favoritism over this game. One guy took 4 years to create Stardew Valley
Sure.
and all its gloriousness, and that is
Yep.
by far one of the best $20 games I have ever spent,
right,
hands down.
right, and see, but that's just it. We're consumerism of this product and just wanting it as soon as possible is, in a lot of ways, killing the drive,
Yeah.
right? Because you get a player base or a consumer group that is clamoring for the new title. Well, that puts pressure on from the stockholders onto publishers to push their teams to pump out games within certain time frames so that they can continue to make money every year. What we need to do, and this needs to be done, especially now that we have a live service game model, where it's like, no, this game is crap. I will not buy it. I will not pay for your battle pass anymore. I will not, I won't do any of that.
With the game development, has that helped? Because the biggest game development company that I can think of that was pushing out games, and then all of a sudden they're like, nope, we need more time on these games, is Ubisoft.
Oh, I
Has
was gonna
that
say that.
helped them in ways?
To be honest, the last two, the Egypt one, and
The Odyssey, I think.
yeah, the Odyssey or whatever, or like Origins or whatever, the Egyptian one, and,
Odyssey and Origins, yeah.
and the Vikings Valhalla have been the two of the best Assassin's Creed to come out in a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Over
And they had time.
Black Flag, over Unity, over Syndicate, honestly, even over Assassin's Creed 3 a little bit, because I thought 3 was lackluster.
See, there's a lot of hate for that game. Like,
It's cool that it's the American like Assassin's Creed. It's just
The story was a cop out. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
it was a
it-
cop out.
it wasn't great.
It was such a cop out.
But the last two
Um,
Assassin's Creed games, although I have not played it, have had more positive reviews than I've ever seen for an Assassin's Creed game since fucking
Right.
the Ezio collection.
Right.
to get back to your question, and Kyle has hit upon it. Do I think that digital is going to be a thing in the future? Yes, I think with technology growing, eventually it's going to happen. I think it's imminent, and it is what it is. Kyle has also made a good point that what's keeping digital from keeping full digital is his generation and my generation with the nostalgia value.
Yeah.
Now, with the comment of the remakes need to be stopped, I agree with that and I disagree with that. Where I disagree with that, like every other person disagrees with that, you got to keep the nostalgia in those old games. But the problem is not a lot of people can access those old games, and sometimes with the remakes that come out, sometimes they just add the right stuff to those games
So-
where it makes it a little bit better or a little bit more accessible than
So-
the old games do.
I'll be
So,
go ahead.
to kind of, embellish on the remake thing, or remake comment that I had made earlier. There is a difference for me where so there's a studio called Blue Point Studios. They're owned by Sony, but they do immaculate remasters and remakes. Luke, if you ever get the chance, go and look at. You can find it on YouTube. But a prime example of this is the game Shadow of Colossus.
I have seen it. Yes,
I heard it was really good. Never touched it.
Yeah, it's an amazing game. If you ever get a chance to play it, go ahead and do it. It's
I think I have it on my PS4.
That's an older game, ain't it?
Yeah. So Shadow of the Colossus was in fact an older game. It came out on
I thought PS3, wasn't it?
no, it was a PS2 game.
Oh, okay.
It was a PS2 game. And actually, I'm pretty sure.
He's gonna go check the library. God, you're old.
Anyway,
So
while he's
but
doing
anyway,
that,
no. But I'm saying that studios like that where they do a remake / remaster, and they just go through and they give it this love and affection and really build up that almost they take a nostalgic feel, but they make it feel brand new. That is a proper remake. Or, and then there's the remasters where it's like, we just made the graphics prettier. Story's the exact same, gameplay's the exact same. We polished and buffed out a couple of issues from the old one. Those are fine.
honestly,
What I'm talking about are the...
I forget about the remake, the remaster difference too. My apologies.
Yeah.
that's why I'm kind of excited for the GTA trilogy.
Oh, fucking hyped for it, dude.
Because I feel like it's gonna be a lot smoother of a game. The biggest thing that made me excited for it was when I watched a section of Vice City. He fucking fell into the water and he swam. He swam. He can swim, and I'm excited because I like to do shit in that game where I'm driving off ramps and into the water all the fucking time.
I'm gonna put 100 hours into.
Oh,
San
absolutely.
Andreas. I can
Like,
already see
the,
it.
the one thing I was gonna mention was like the remaster versus the what is the other word?
Remake.
So the remastered GTA 4. So there's a huge difference when it comes to playing the original GTA 4 on 360 versus playing the original GTA 4 or this GTA 4 on PC. Especially if you have a really good PC.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm looking at this game and I'm playing it. I'm like, this is not the same game that I remember.
Oh, no, absolutely.
It's so
I
smooth
bet you-
and clean.
I bet you it runs at like 60 frames per second, where I think the old one ran at 30.
30.
Like,
Oh, it's so pretty. I couldn't imagine it in 8K. Like that'd be a thing. I honestly,
I feel like 8K is getting too much hype at the moment.
it needs
preach.
it needs to happen. Modern Warfare 3 remastered. It needs to happen.
You didn't hear. Well, no, you did hear this from me because those individuals are gone. They're so. Fun fact for you two, since we're all in the same state, the Modern Warfare remaster. Raven Studios, who did that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where they're located?
You told me this, Middleton.
Yeah.
No, not Middleton.
Yeah, they're located in Middleton.
Okay.
So that now they were approached by Activision on whether or not they wanted to do it again for either Modern Warfare 2 or Modern Warfare 3.
Wait, Modern Warfare 2 is already.
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm thinking of the wrong game.
No, you're thinking. So Modern Warfare 2 did get a remastered campaign. It did not get a remastered multiplayer. The only thing that has been remastered on Modern Warfare 2 is the campaign.
Right.
The multiplayer has not come out yet.
That's right.
They want to do that separate.
That's right. I mean, I love No Russian. No offense. So, like, I'm not trying to say, like...
Oh,
like,
yeah. No. There are some quintessential moments that, you know, we, well, yeah.
If they bring back the same type of lobbying, especially in, like, Search and Destroy, where you can't be in a party, oh my god, would that game be fun.
So, but there are... So Raven wasn't approached by that. Whether or not they actually got it, I was never informed. But I was informed that they were approached to do either the 2 multiplayer or the 3. But unfortunately, I think with the fact that Raven is literally doing nothing but Warzone at the moment.
Insert fry
Take
me.
my money.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah. So, but unfortunately, with Raven Studios doing nothing but Warzone, and it's balancing.
Just a quick question, because I'm old. For that new Warzone,
I think you're the youngest one here, bud.
How old are you?
25?
Oh, dude, I'm almost 27.
Oh shit, never mind.
For flattering, I appreciate that.
Shave the beard.
Shit, and then I'll be carded at bars again. That's how that fucking works.
No.
Anyway, continue.
With Warzone Pacific, is that going to be you have to buy Vanguard in order to play that, or is that going to be a free deal like regular Warzone?
So that's gonna be with Warzone. As far as I'm aware. Now, that being said, again, what my friends have told me was always subject to change and stuff like that. And honestly, I don't even know if what they told me on the way out, because they're like, hey, you know what, NDAs be damned, I don't give a, I don't care, and told me a couple of things here and there. It's I do know that, ironically enough, do you guys remember the hacker character that was introduced, or was it last season?
I know Hacker from Cyberspace.
You're talking like Cold War, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was so minimalistic. Like, all of these characters, I haven't really bonded with.
Right.
So, well, no, but there was a hacker for the Warzone season 5 or whatever it was. The funny part is because of the rampant amount of hacking that was going on in Warzone, when they came forward for suggestions from other team members for skins and characters that could be included in the next season, as they've done in the past, it was my buddy just dropped off the suggestion of, put a hacker in the game, it'll be funny. Well, about that.
God.
Right.
But so yeah, fun little tidbit there. But no, my 3 main points is for the future of gaming to actually succeed and not plateau into the next 20 years. Nostalgia needs to be applied in the correct tonality, where it's we want the nostalgia, but we're okay with change.
It's gonna slowly phase out, and I think one of the best ways that they're kind of bringing the nostalgia back digitally is like the digital Nintendo that has all the games installed in it.
Oh yeah,
or stuff like that. They're eventually gonna come out with the GameCube one, probably the 64 one if they haven't already. I think they haven't. They're gonna come out.
The rumor is that the N64 is coming out.
Yeah.
But
they're gonna come out with the original Xbox eventually, and as time goes on, I think that's a great way to keep the nostalgia there for the older gamers. So
absolutely.
So like when the kids that are the young, fresh kids right now, when they're 30, 40 years old, they're gonna have these remastered Xbox Ones and PS4s and shit like that. And It's gonna be great. Honestly, I think that's a really great way just to keep the history of gaming and the vintageness of it there.
Oh yeah.
I do think it should slowly taper off, but there's a lot of variables that will help it taper off when it comes to just running straight digital. And again, I think pricing is a big thing. I think making it worth it
Yeah.
to especially the people who are still gaming that are from the older generations. At some point, there are going to be gamers that only know digital. They've never grew up playing consoles with discs and cartridges unless their grandpa shows them, oh hey, let me
no.
bust out this 360. It ran in discs and it had a 250 gig hard drive, and the kid's like, only 250 gigs? How can it run a game? Because back then games didn't need 100 gigabytes to play.
Yeah.
I was just talking to my buddy too with the advancement of like internet cables and stuff like that. Like back in the day, we were excited for like 1 megabyte download speed, and now it's damn near up to a gig, 2 gigs in some places.
I recently bought a 360 off Marketplace and a couple games that came with it, and I'm sitting there and I'm downloading Grand Theft Auto 4 and it needed an update. The update was 10 megabytes.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, I miss these days. It was so easy.
Yeah.
Why can't we just have the graphics and the really fucking shit? Yeah, I think there's a lot of variables to come with gaming in the future. Whether or not companies, the public, and consumers actually agree and like go with the flow instead of fighting it or forcing it, it'll be interesting. I think.
Oh yeah.
I do think the whole take on what Nintendo did with the Switch is gonna grow into the next big thing.
Oh,
you don't think so?
No, I was just thinking back to our conversation about streamers and the Nintendo Switch Online stuff. I just got in a totally complete different field. But with that mobile comment, yes, I 100% believe that.
Because like it's a great thing that they did with the Switch, because you can play it mobily. That's probably not a word. I'm glad Joyce isn't here. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Anyway, no, you can play it on the go, but it still works like a console. You still have controllers, and you can still put it on your big screen, and you can still run it like you would an Xbox or a PS5. It's you get the best of both worlds.
Yep.
And I think both Sony and Microsoft is going to jump on board with that. And yes, you have the Steam's version of it coming out.
Yeah, the Steam Deck.
How that goes, I have no idea. I don't know if they have a really good company that's building these and they're going to be built to last. Because this is them trying to break into the console world. Because Steam has always been a software for your computers to play games. They've never had an actual console. So the hardware side of gaming is hugely different from the software side that Steam is used to. So
Right.
whether they break into the field and we have another fourth finally, like we did when we had Sega, Nintendo, and Xbox and PlayStation, whether or not we have that fourth again and the four nations live in harmony like they did in Avatar, who the fuck knows?
You're full of shit. You're so full of shit, it stinks.
Remember when it was the fucking 64, the Dreamcast, the Xbox, and the fucking GameCube?
There was so much
No,
fucking fighting.
it was
back
the
in day.
PlayStation, the Xbox, the GameCube, and the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
And
I think as gamers nowadays we're more united than we were back in the day, but the fucking console wars were real.
Last big question for this podcast. Do you agree with cross-platform gaming? I don't.
Absolutely don't.
As much as we wanted it over the last 10, 15 years, how it's been playing out lately in the last 3 years, 3 or 4 years, it's not worth it.
Okay, yes and no to that question. Crossplay over all platforms, like PC, absolutely not. I fucking hate it because there is such an advantage with PC.
Oh
over
God,
consoles.
I kick ass in Cold War specifically because I have a PC and I'm playing with
Yeah.
all these console players.
Exactly.
The funny part is though, then you get the argument of console players. I don't want to hear the aim assist argument.
Aim assist, if you're a really good gamer, aim assist makes it worse for you.
It really does.
When I used to game hardcore on my PS4 and playing Call of Duty and shit like that, I turned aim assist off.
You know, and the
not
funny
use
part
it.
for the funny part for me is you look at these streamers who are like, oh my god, aim assist so easy. You're not trying. I've seen you try.
Right.
You're not trying. That's why aim assist is working, because you're not fighting it.
It's doing half the work for you, but when
Right.
you're fighting it, trying to do all the work yourself, adding on the aim assist, you're gonna be if you're coming from the right, you're gonna be shooting left. If you are coming left, you're gonna be shooting right. You
Right.
cannot have aim assist on and be a full-fledged gamer, and
No.
yeah, it just doesn't work.
But yeah, no, I agree with the so crossplay, novel idea. Should only be crossplay between the consoles, simply because that's
Fuck
similar
yes,
hardware.
Yeah. If it was just Xbox and PlayStation,
That's
fine.
fine.
And
That's
Switch
fine.
in there too, because now Switch is.
Switch- Well, Switch is. I mean, you can, but Switch would. I don't know.
Nintendo would fucking upgrade the hardware, then yes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If Nintendo was on the same level of hardware that, but again, the reason they're so successful with their consoles is
They
because
care about software more than hardware.
Well, nostalgia is their. big
well,
selling point.
there's partly that, but it's also one of those things where they're not the game. You know, they're not the hardcore gamers. They're the family gamer.
Mm-hmm.
They're the family's console.
And to be honest, as I've gotten older, I like those consoles more. It's the
Yeah.
weird thing to say. I just recently bought the newest Mario Party, and it is 10 times better than the Mario Party that came out last year, or
Oh, yeah,
2018.
Yeah.
It's very retro, very simple gameplay, and it brings back
Right.
all the 64 and GameCube Mario Party games. And the
Oh, that
levels.
being said, though, when they release that freaking digital version of N64, you know how many kids are gonna get clapped by their dads and their older brothers on
There's-
GoldenEye?
There's a
Oh
lot
my!
of there's a lot of problems with that actually, because button mapping, like if we're talking like specifically like with the Switch Online and 64, like there's so much problems with button mapping and just
Oh yeah.
in-game latency. Like that's a whole conversation for another day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I really didn't think Nintendo would stoop to the level like COD and Madden and stuff like that. But the fact that you can't play the 64 package like you do the NES and the Super NES packages that they have for members, you have to buy an extra membership for like $50 a month, or not month,
Yeah,
for the year,
yeah.
versus having your $20 yearly membership that gives you the NES and the Super NES. You have
Yeah.
to buy like an extra $30 yearly pass to get the 64 games. Like, come on.
But they also looked at what Xbox and Sony were doing, and they're like, they're putting out games and stuff like that, and they're making more than we are, so
Oh,
we're
yeah.
gonna have to
Nin-
charge it.
but that's the thing. Nintendo's never gonna cease to exist. They have to.
No.
They have to know that they're never gonna cease to exist.
They have a staying power that will never go away, and if it does, I hope I'm not around to see it.
Right.
I disagree. I don't want to be wrong on that, but I think every company will die eventually at one point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm just like I said, they have a staying power right now because of the gaming market that they're not going to go anywhere anytime soon,
Right.
unless the
Right.
gaming market completely falls out.
Or they pull a Wii U again.
Okay. Besides
wow, yeah.
if you take the Wii U out of discussion,
Retro
every
boy.
okay, that's too far. If you take
You said every.
starting
every.
with the
I'll go there.
or the NES, starting with the NES all the way up until present day, I don't really feel like Nintendo has ever been in third place besides the Wii U.
GameCube.
Are you fucking kidding me?
At the time, yes. Yes, it was. At the
Comparatively,
time, it was.
I would actually, okay, I will say comparatively, GameCube had arguably the largest selection initially
Right.
of
It had the
first
hardware.
party games.
The generation of GameCube, Xbox, and PS2 was a three-way tie. I don't agree that any
PS2 dominated that. No way.
no
Like, during the time, if we're going off of like active like sales, which I kind of think we're leaning towards that, PS2 and the original Xbox dominated the GameCube. For that.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
Was only,
because they were innovative consoles. I mean,
it's a tough pill to swallow because my favorite console is the GameCube. I love the GameCube.
Of those three consoles, the two that I owned was the GameCube and the Xbox. I didn't own a PS2.
Right.
I played it. I know what it was like. Not my thing. I will
But
say
now with that nostalgia, GameCube fucking murders.
oh my god, I wish I still had my GameCube.
right, but that's where I was going with it. Was GameCube at launch had the largest and most diverse selection of titles that were exclusives, right?
I don't think Nintendo, besides the Wii U, has ever had a bad console since the NES. I would argue.
I was gonna say.
I would argue that the PlayStation 3 was a terrible console. I would argue that the Xbox One was a terrible console. I had an Xbox One.
How do you define that? Like, what are you going after? The games that were behind it, the way it was sold, like.
I would say the hardware.
Okay.
I did not. Okay, for PS3, it's the hardware and the software of the console, not the software of the games. For the Xbox One, it was the hardware, and
You'll go after it more the game.
I guess I'm confused on the PS3. I can see the software. The software was janky at times, and it had some issues.
And the membership thing that they had for online was just awful.
Online was garbage. Yeah.
When it comes to the Xbox One, I had the Xbox One first before the PS4. As soon as I got the PS4, I sold the Xbox One.
Okay,
That's
I'll just
how
point
bad it
out that
was.
if you're talking about the online experience for PS3, there was no paid membership.
Yeah, it was fucking garbage. I would have paid for a really good membership. Just like I did for the 360 and I did for the Xbox One.
Then could you also make the same argument about a Nintendo's online service too? I mean,
yeah,
because Nintendo's online service was free, and then they started a paywall behind that, and then people got super fucking pissed off about that.
To be honest, though, I don't feel like Nintendo's online services has had a real presence since the Switch. Because the Wii, you played in your family home. The GameCube, you played with your family.
Okay, but I mean, so I will make the argument that okay, so you didn't like the online service model. That's a that's a software thing. That's fine. But again, you're saying that you didn't like the PS3 console's hardware, and I'm a little lost on where you. What was wrong with it?
If I had,
You struck a nerve because that's probably Kyle's favorite console.
If I had,
no,
wrong saying that.
If I had to choose between the generation of the Wii, the 360, and the PS3 was the worst one.
Okay. Again, you said hardware. So I'm trying to understand.
It's hard to explain that because I never owned a PS3, but I've played with friends that have, and it's had many issues when it comes to the closest thing next to it that I would recognize as a hardware issue is the Red Ring of Death for the 360. But once they fixed that, there wasn't an issue anymore.
Oh, okay. So I know what you're referring to. That. So, yeah, you're talking to the PS3 version of their own thing. That was actually that was fixed pretty rapidly. The problem is that a lot of those boards that they had the issue with, there was a lot of them circulating. So that's why it kept popping up every so often.
Yeah.
And so frequently. Is because there were so many of those boards that were released into the public in the systems that there was no way with short, even if Sony could do like a recall of that board, it wasn't gonna happen because there was that many of them. Because that's how many had sold.
Like it wasn't an awful system as a whole.
No,
But when it comes to the worst console of all the PlayStations that have come out, PS3 was the worst. That's my argument. It's my opinion. I'm not saying that it's not a fact.
No. I mean, honestly, I would say PS4 was worse in some regard.
No, PS4 was what got me back into PlayStation.
I'm gonna agree with Kyle on that one too.
Really?
Yeah. There were some aspects of the PS4 as far if
there's also some Xbox buys with that too.
Yeah, selection of games at the beginning of PS4 very limited.
Sure,
sucked.
I'll give you that.
Xbox right out the base. Like I'm sitting here, I was looking at it. I'm like, I don't think like when PS3 and Xbox 360 kind of came out. I'm like, okay, it's gonna be Xbox's thing. This is gonna be Xbox for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had already accepted that. Somehow, PS4 with no backwards compatibility that they promised us right out the fucking gate and lied straight up to us about, and all these other promises that they never delivered on, and they came out with this boxy piece of plastic shit.
Yeah, see, the Xbox did the same thing though. Because Xbox promised all this backwards compatibility, and
they delivered.
They did that. Well, later, yes, later.
But it's still even now today, the amount of games that are actually available is not anywhere near the entire library.
Yeah, exactly. But it was one of those things where it's like, you have got to be kidding me, because the number of people that I knew sold. And that was the big thing. This is why all those old consoles, the PS3s and the Xbox 360s, hit the shelves in droves at GameStop and all the other trade-in stores, because everybody thought that backwards compatibility was going to be the thing. And again, they tried to do it. They basically did it with with this console.
If that's the thing with technology and how it's grown, I feel like if they had taken the time and the effort, they could have made software available for the PS5 and software available for this new Xbox One Series X or whatever the fuck they call it. They would have had enough technological advances that they could have a software programmed into it so that they could play or at least all the main titles of each console before it.
Oh, it's not even if they have it, they just didn't put it in there. It's called emulation software.
Yeah, it's like fucking having the best car in the world, like the Ford company building the best car they could ever possibly make, but they'll never give it to the public because they'll slowly get up there after 50 years because they're milking it. It's no different from vehicles, or different from, I would say, like, I don't know. There's other categories. It's it's the ability the ability to get as much money as possible out of your consumers,
right?
Without giving them enough. It's like cell phones.
So I would like to, so PlayStation has PlayStation Now, right? And it's their streaming library. Now, in my mind, they fucked up royally on their entire business model for PlayStation Now. Because if you go into PlayStation Now, right now, they've got games from a couple of years ago and a smattering of old games. I'm sorry, but if you want a library of games that people are going to want to pay for, don't give us the new stuff that we can just buy off the store regardless. Give us the chance to stream the old games, to buy them outright in the store, or buy them with, maintaining, like, so PlayStation Plus, it's $60 a year. Make it 65 and you're allowed to continue on with the old library, we'll call it, of all the old games. PS2 and stuff like that, however far back they really want to go, and have it emulated through there and stream it that way. One, it wouldn't be that hard on their servers because they're not intensive games.
Right.
They're streaming all these brand new titles that are barely run on hard copies or direct off the hard drive itself.
Right. I get what you're going with that.
So, but see, that's the nostalgia that I would pay for. And if a console went all digital, but they said, "Hey, we understand that some of you may have a lot of CDs or and games and stuff like that still in hard disk version," we get that. Tell you what, we've now opened up a large, extensive library. If you pay $5 a month extra, it will ping your trophies and go, "Oh, he has trophies. They have trophies for this game, this game, this game, this game." It will highlight it in the streaming service, going, "We saw that you have these games or had these games at one point. Would you like to play them again?"
Right.
That would be pinpoint marketing that would bring back nostalgia, that would fix that aspect of things. And at that point, I would say, you know what? You've solved nostalgia. Honestly, except for physical consoles, which are more of a fun gimmick. You make a couple of digital consoles every couple of years. Mostly Nintendo can do that. That's fine.
Though, that these companies are just not going to do it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They'll never do it because they don't see the money in it.
They'll never take the time to please the people that have given them money over all these years.
No, because they have now got, and see, this is where they have now programmed an entire generation, as well as starting on the next one already with some of the games, of this is what gaming is.
Right.
It was never different. And the rest of us are sitting there going, uh-huh.
Another
Are we dead yet? No, last time I checked, most of the people that you are ignoring are in their mid-40s, at maybe 50s at the oldest.
So Pokemon Company could make so much money if they sold all of their old games on like the newer consoles too, like with everything. Like that's such an untapped market to me too. It's like, why are you, if you threw Pokemon Yellow, Silver, Red, Blue, Emerald, like just 5 of those games, but you marketed it at $120, fucking I'd spend money on that.
Oh yeah,
in a heartbeat.
absolutely.
See, that's
In
the
a
thing.
heartbeat.
They could easily just make They could literally just make smaller versions of these consoles that we've known and loved over all these years, with all the games built into them, like they did with the NES and the Super NES and stuff like that, and sell them for $100, $150. I'd buy it. I'd buy a 360 that had like the top 100 games that ever came out for it for $150. Hell yeah, I'd play that shit all day. I would do the same for a GameCube. Like I would do the same for a PlayStation 1. Like they would still make money. Yes, like they wouldn't milk us as much, but they would the amount of people that would buy these.
And they could also say limited time. We only have a certain amount of consoles,
Yeah.
so that would fucking go through the roof too.
And it would take a lot of the heat off of the fucking loss of Xbox sales and PlayStation 5 sales.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
they don't fucking have the consoles right now. Granted, you're gonna need the chips and stuff for these new backwards compatibility ones, but
Well, that's the main issue with. So the reason, the entire reason of there not being enough consoles initially was literally there wasn't enough chips to make there wasn't enough machines to make chips and enough materials.
right.
There's only a limited number of machines that can make those chips with the very specific materials. And
I even looked that up. Like once they're made, they need like 2 to 3 months of testing after that.
oh yeah,
Before
absolutely.
they can go on the market. I'm like, wow,
Yep.
that's crazy to me.
But yet
Yep.
people are freaking out and telling them to hurry, hurry, hurry because they want the next big thing, and we don't need to rush this.
No, we don't. And it's so funny now too, because you've got people that are screaming at Walmart in other big box stores because somehow the season that's right around the corner after Turkey Day is completely lost.
I'm sorry, but now that I got my PC at the beginning of or at the end of last year, I don't need a PS5. I don't think I might not honestly ever get one. Like
Yeah.
I don't need it. So like what?
I've often considered the new Xbox just with a financial point in my life, but I also thought in long-term retrospect, like PC probably would be the better
PC's
option
not.
for me.
Yeah. Well, so the argument there is the fact that you can upgrade your PC piece by piece, right?
The
And you're
problem
gonna
is
be
the problem is the pricing right now is like the housing market. It's really high.
which is, I mean, but that's why pre-builts are. That being said, Luke, get a hold of me and you and I can sit down with a buddy of mine and we can help get you something a little cheaper, help you find some stuff.
Well, I mean, it's not only that, and we go back to the very beginning of this podcast too, where adulting has taken over
Oh yeah,
a lot of life. Where
It's like, do you want to make this big investment into a PC when you're not going to be able to use it nearly as much as you were if you were 17?
right, exactly. It's just that's the biggest confrontal that I have, and I have this conversation with my Xbox gaming buddies all the fucking time. And it's just with the development of adulthood coming up, like a couple of years down the line, gonna be married, have kids, like that stuff, where I'm gonna have to be more focused on that. And I've often been told by just family members in general that I'm gonna have to give up gaming completely, and you're never gonna touch it again. It's true and it's not true because you're never gonna take away my favorite hobby.
Right.
You're gonna push it to the side a little bit. Boy, it's gonna kill like dust, but it is what it is. I'm still a gamer at heart.
And I think
Not gonna change that.
And I think that's a great reason why, like these companies should make these backwards like retro consoles that have everything built into them already.
Oh, absolutely.
Because then you have the adults and stuff like that that love these consoles when they were kids, and when they have the 2-3 hours once a week to go back and play these games, they're gonna do it.
Not only that,
such a large market for this.
Not only that, but I would also like to point out the fact that a lot of these games now too. I mean, you can, especially with emulators and stuff like that, you can go out and because most of these game files have been released, into the wild of the internet.
Right.
Even if you're looking for the nostalgia of actually plugging in a card or something into these digital retro consoles and having that feeling, all the companies have to do is go, hey guys, make us a digital N64 cartridge with about, with like 30 games on it.
Right.
We'll give you the list. Just load it all on there, make it look good.
For a guy that's in my situation, what would be the best way to go? Would it be better to go out and get a new console or just invest in a PC?
Invest in a PC. You can get.
I think longevity wise, I would say PC.
You can get any game that is played on console on a PC.
Right.
You get the best of both consoles.
Well, yes and no. I mean, it's definitely taken a shift, but
yeah,
I mean, obviously consoles are still going to have exclusives and whatnot. But for you, especially Luke, I would say that a PC would be a better investment of time and money, simply because you are, your Xbox Live that just transfers right to your PC. It doesn't matter.
Right, with Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate too. That's huge too.
Right, exactly.
So you can basically put an Xbox in your PC.
Right. So you're not losing anything in that regard. So I would say that would probably be the way you go. But for somebody like me, where granted there hasn't been a lot of PS5 games that really caught my attention, other than like one, which is a remake of the Demon Souls game that I would love to sit. I've sat down and played it, and I loved it, and I'm. But
well, that's even on the Xbox side. Like Besides Battlefield 2042, I mean, I used to play a lot of the Forza Horizon games, but
Yeah.
nothing has been tripping my fucking trigger as of recently.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Let's round this up. Last minute comments about gaming that you guys want to add in there, if you guys have anything. Like, what's the biggest takeaway from this podcast that you think is the most important?
I think the gaming community in general needs to slow down and take a breath, because right now, even though we're clamoring for, we want the best, we want something brand new and shiny, we're not getting that because the companies know that we'll pay for just about anything right now. So we need to take a step back and go, no, sorry, Mr. Publisher, I'm not lining your pockets with my money until I see something different.
How about you, Luke?
I think it's more of the same too on that one. I'm excited to where the future holds for gaming and everything with all the technology too. But it's also intimidating as fuck too when you get behind the scenes and how everything is going with that too. So it's gaming to me has always been a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Where you gotta take the good with the bad.
I think for me, the biggest takeaway is the whole fully digital over the next 10, 15 years. And I'm really curious to see if Sony and Microsoft will hop on the same board as Steam and Nintendo and make their mobile console that allows them to have the on-the-go action and have like the straight-up console on the big screen. The thing is though, like, I've seen like these fan-built, like, or it's like it's not actually built, it's like on the screen, like these Xbox versions of what it would look like of like having a mobile device that has the screen. Like, that would be really cool. Will it be ever made? No, it won't be that cool looking. But
No.
it gives Xbox the idea, like, maybe people want this. Let's make this happen. Granted, the PS4 and the new Xbox just came out, so they're going to want to milk those for at least a good 5 years, if not longer, and then finally come out with a mobile one.
I think the turnaround for that is going to be a lot quicker this time around, though.
So
I really do.
That's going to be the other interesting part is that with this, you know, if it does take that drastic shift into everybody pumps out a mobile console, it's also going to signal the change of not only the permanent shift to digital games, but cloud gaming, which has been making strides in both reliability.
I was just thinking about Stadia too.
Well, yeah, Stadia. I mean, it's gotten better. Like Google kind of jumped themselves on that one. They got ahead of themselves, and that's why. But the ability for cloud gaming is, and that market is going to be huge at some point. Whether or not it's going to be viable in the next 10 to 15 years, I don't think so. Not unless there's a radical shift. But it's all about who wants to put their money where. So
Right. We'll have to see. Like I said, 65 years worth of gaming between the three of us, plus all of our other friends.
yeah.
To see where the next 10, 15, 20 years of gaming goes. Hopefully we're all around to see it, and hopefully it's as much as what we're hoping for. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll see if finally these companies will start listening to their people that line their pockets. Like, give us what we want. We're still gonna line your pockets if you give us what we want. So why not make you happy and then make us happy at the same time? All right. Well, we talked about this before the podcast started, but we were hoping this was only gonna be like half an hour. We've been going for 2 hours and 10 minutes. Good stuff. Love open discussions. It's kind of fun because you just start to go off of one and it branches out into another thing, into another thing, into another thing. So I do think open discussions will be a great idea for a future podcast, but unlike the top like 5 or top 3s that we've been doing, we can't have 9 people for that. It's gonna be chaos. It's too much. So
Yeah.
I hope everybody enjoys the podcast. I will upload it to my YouTube channel as well if you guys want to check it out there. There's a couple clips I want to find from this podcast. Hopefully I find them because I kind of forgot to write down the time. But I hope you guys like enjoying
Shut up and take your money.
that one. Yeah, that was one of them. I gotta go back and find it. I don't know what time it was. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Don't forget to follow if you guys haven't already. Go over to my YouTube channel. Give me a subscribe there over too if you guys want to see all the content. There are a couple things in the work for the channel. I'm not sure if it'll get published and finished or not, but I'm trying. We'll see how it goes. If you guys want to subscribe on Twitch as well, you can. I'm not asking you to. We do have some cool emotes. Otherwise, I hope everybody has a great rest of their day or night whenever you're watching this. Don't forget to follow, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side.